Hi guys, it's me Jack from Sally's Clay. I'm going to show you how to make my new snake ring using metal clay. All tools will be linked below. If you're new to my channel and you're liking what you're seeing, don't forget to like and subscribe. Now let's get making. First, I want to talk about what clay we're using. Here I'm going to be using the Art Clay Silver 950. This is for kiln fire only. The reason why we're using this one is because it is 95% silver and then it has 5% copper, which makes it more strong and durable, which is perfect for ring making. In the bag, you'll find instructions. Definitely give this a read as there's some really helpful tips on how to dry your piece and obviously the full instructions on how to fire your piece using a kiln. Now, on to the making. Here you can see that I have laid out my pieces already. I'm using a depth guide of 1.25mm. I've just spritzed some cool slip on the side and I'm going to coat everything that I'm using that comes into contact with the clay so that it stops it from sticking. I'm using the Reptile Texture Mat from Metal Clay, and as they are quite small, I've used 2 of them to go either side of my depth guide so that I know that I'm going to roll my clay evenly over the original texture mat that I want to use. I'm taking my clay and I'm using my rolling pin. I'm going to add some cool slip to it so that again it doesn't stick to the clay. I press firmly down on one side and I repeat on the other side until the clay stops moving and I know that I have reached my desired thickness. Now I'm going to gently remove my piece from my texture mat and pop it onto my non-stick work mat. I'm wanting my piece to have a curved edge, so I'm going to be using cling film over my piece and then I'm going to use my cutter on top of that. This is going to create sort of a beveled edge and really soften it and make it look almost definitely more realistic to a snake. I make sure to press firmly all the way along the cutter. And here you can see it once it's been cut and cleaned up slightly. Now I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to add water to the underside. The reason I do this is because we're going to add it to our ring mold, and adding water will help it adhere to the paper that is wrapped around our ring mold. I find doing this really helpful when making rings because without the water, your ring can become a bit slippy and it can fall off and then it can damage the actual design. So I find adding water helps it adhere to the paper better. Once we are happy with the design, I'm now going to add a little bit of water and I'm going to add some Silver Art Paste, which is glue in the sort of metal clay world. It's a more liquidy form of actual metal clay, which is silver. I'm adding this to my piece because I want to attach the head and the tail together to make a full band. And I'm adding this to make a good clear bond and to add strength to my ring. I'm not worrying too much about how much to put on yet because obviously we cannot go to the inside of the ring as of yet because it needs to dry. I'm just concentrating on the bits that I can see. When I'm happy that the 2 pieces look well adhered together, I'm just going to take my paintbrush and I'm going to go around all the edges and just smooth any of the little flyaway bits and any sort of extra little bits of clay that I can see away. What the water does is it kind of softens the top layer of the clay that's starting to harden, and it just basically is smoothing out everything, and with the aid of the paintbrush it helps too. When I'm ready, I'm going to place my piece on a hot plate. These ring molds can withstand up to 60 Celsius. When your piece is dry enough, your mold should just pop straight out of the paper. I like to leave my pieces to dry for approximately half an hour to an hour. Now our piece is dry, this is when I'm really going to focus on the back piece where the head and tail meet, and I'm going to add some more Art Silver Clay Paste to really enforce that bond between the head and tail to make sure that it is strong and durable once it's fired. Once I have done this, I'm going to pop it back on the hot plate to dry again. Once our piece is dry, now we're going to sand. We're going to take some sanding pads, and I'm going to start with the 800, then I'm going to go up to the 1000 and then finish on the 1500. I'm really going to focus on the edges, and I'm going to clean up behind the head and the tail. The more you clean up your piece now in the sort of pre-fired stage, the less work you're going to have to do once it's fired. Take your time with this. If you start to notice any cracks, fill with some paste, pop it back on the hot plate and just repeat this method until you really feel like you've got a nice clean piece that is completely sanded and looks really smooth and ready to fire. My final stage after sanding is always to give them a little once over with a wet wipe. I do this because the wet wipe takes away any of the micro dust that we can't see with our eyes, and as it wets the top layer of the clay, it gives everything a really lovely smooth finish. And here is our finished ring ready to go into the kiln. Whenever I make rings, I always accompany them with using the ring sizer molds from Cool Tools. I have sized up my ring by 2 sizes. With the mould, I sized down by 2 sizes for my original size that I wanted. When my ring fires, it will fire to that ring mould and no smaller. Now I'm going to pop everything into the kiln and it's ready to fire. Once my kiln is completely cooled, I will remove everything that I have fired. And here it is, all fired and ready to finish. These ring mold pellets can be dissolved in water. I'm just going to break off half and chuck that bit in the bin and then dissolve the bit that's in between my ring. Now I'm going to pass the brass brush all over my ring to remove the sort of whitish colour and reveal the beautiful satin silver underneath. You can leave your piece there, or like me, I'm going to patina my piece. Once my piece has been patinaed and neutralised, I'm now going to take the 1500 sanding pad and I'm going to brush back the patina so that it's going to create a really beautiful sort of depth and weathered looking snake. I have slightly dampened this sanding pad and I'm going all over the ring, back and forth, multiple times until I'm happy with the desired effect. And there you have it, a handmade sterling silver snake ring. I really hope you have enjoyed watching my video. Please don't forget to like and subscribe and follow me for more. And I'll see you on the next one. Bye!